I never thought a simple office fling could destroy everything I had, but here I am, sitting alone in my bedroom, staring at the cold glow of my phone and realizing that I may have just ruined my marriage beyond repair. My name is Lauren, I'm 32, and I always thought my husband, Mark, trusted me. I thought we had a bond so solid that nothing, not even the chaos of life or our occasional disagreements, could shake it. I was wrong. Dead wrong. It started innocently enough, or at least that's what I told myself. I had been feeling restless at work, stuck in the monotony of spreadsheets, endless emails, and coffee that never seemed strong enough. And then came him, Jason. He was charming, funny in a way that made you forget about the stress piling up on your desk, and just close enough to touch without ever crossing the line. At first, I convinced myself it was harmless, a little harmless banter, a harmless flirtation. But banter has a way of slipping into territory you don't see coming. One late evening, the office was quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the clicking of keyboards. Jason leaned over my cubicle, laughing at something I said. I laughed too freely maybe, and then it happened. One thing led to another. A brush of hands, a lingering touch on the arm, whispers that weren't work-related. My heart raced, and for a moment, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in months. I told myself it meant nothing. Just a fleeting thrill. But the problem with fleeting thrills is that they have a way of leaving permanent scars. When I got home that night, Mark greeted me like he always did, with a warm smile, a kiss on the cheek, and that calm reassurance that he was always here, that he loved me. And I felt guilt immediately, like a sharp sting in my chest. I smiled at him, hugged him tight, but my mind was still spinning with images of Jason's eyes, the feel of his hand, the excitement I wasn't supposed to crave. I shoved the thoughts down, telling myself just let it go. It's over. But the next day I made the mistake of thinking I could compartmentalize. At lunch I texted Jason. Just a little joke, just to see if he'd reply. And he did. That simple exchange opened the floodgates, pulling me back into the thrill I knew I shouldn't indulge in. By the third week, what was just flirting became coffee meetings after work, late-night texts, small excuses to spend time together. And I told myself again and again it was harmless. No one would find out. My husband and my marriage were strong. Until Mark did. I didn't even know he suspected at first. He never said anything. But one night, I walked in after a long day at work to find him sitting at the kitchen table, his face unreadable. He didn't yell, he didn't accuse. He just looked at me, the way someone looks at a stranger standing in their living room. I felt the panic rising before he even spoke. Lauren, we need to talk, he said, his voice calm, too calm. And I knew in that instant, this wasn't going to be a simple fight. This wasn't going to be a misunderstanding. He slid his phone across the table and there it was, a series of messages between me and Jason. Every joke, every meeting, every confession I thought I had hidden perfectly laid bare. I tried to laugh it off at first. It's nothing, Mark, it's just harmless flirting, I said, my voice shaking despite my attempt at casualness. But he didn't laugh. He didn't say a word for a long, unbearable silence. And in that silence, I felt the ground beneath me crumble. It's not harmless, Lauren, he finally said, each word measured and deliberate. You went behind my back. You lied. You violated every trust one ever had in you. And I don't know if I can ever see you the same way again. The weight of his words hit me harder than anything I had ever experienced. I wanted to protest, to explain, to cry, but I knew it wouldn't matter. He had already made his decision in his mind, and the look in his eyes told me he was done negotiating. He wasn't angry, no, that would have been easier. He was disappointed, detached, and that made everything worse. Over the next few days, Mark became a stranger in our own home. He didn't yell, he didn't storm out. He just withdrew. Quiet dinners, silent mornings, and a space growing wider with each passing hour. And then he said something I never expected. I need time, Lauren. I need to rethink what monogamy even means for me. I froze. My heart dropped. Monogamy? Suddenly, the bedrock of our marriage, the shared promises and vows, felt fragile, like it had been ripped out from under me. He didn't want to end our marriage, but he didn't want it the way it used to be either. The betrayal had changed everything. He wasn't asking for forgiveness. He was asking for a redefinition of the rules, and I realized with horror that I had no say in it anymore. I tried everything to reach him. Calls, texts, leaving notes. Every attempt met with silence. Even my apologies felt inadequate. I had broken the invisible contract that held our lives together, and now I was watching, powerless, as everything I had taken for granted slipped away. The thrill I had felt with Jason, the excitement I had justified as harmless, had cost me the trust of the one man who had always been my safe place. Sitting alone at night, I replayed the events in my head. Each decision, each small step I thought didn't matter, now loomed as a mistake that couldn't be undone. I realized the truth in the simplest, hardest way. I had acted selfishly, ignoring the man who had stood by me for years. I had sought validation outside, and it had returned to me as ruin. And now, Mark wants nothing to do with me, or the idea of monogamy at all. The man who once held my hand through every challenge is now a stranger who shares my home but not my trust, my laughter, or my heart. I had thought love was unshakable, but I was wrong. Love can be destroyed in moments of thoughtless desire, and sometimes, there is no coming back.